the way. They already had troops massed in Yemen. They were gearing up for this. They ushered him on without a passport or ID, past security. Someone was filming him the whole time he was on the plane. People thought that was strange. Looked like some type of drill. His father warned people. He was on the terror list, but that was ignored. On and on and on. And now, we've all got to accept the body scanners. Obama's got to launch new wars. I mean, if this isn't staged, I tell you, this is the luckiest thing in history for Obama.
Well, again, I don't know. Because there's always the other side of the story, and that is the high level of incompetence from the government. Look who's the Homeland Security Director. Janet Napolitano. Are you kidding me or what? Homeland Security of what? I mean, look at these people. You know who these people are, Alex? Remember in high school and college, the people that wanted to be the class president or the head of the student council, that thought they were smarter than everybody else, and they sucked up and glad-handed and brown-nosed and knew nothing? Well, here they are. They're telling all the rest of us how to think and how to act. Is it suspicious? Yes, it is. Is the government totally incompetent? Look at what they're doing. Katrina quality rescue skills. They still have a hole in the ground where 9/11 happened at the World Trade Center. Look at the wars they're prosecuting. The military hasn't won a war since World War II. Oh, I forgot Grenada. They did a great job on that one. So, I mean, you're working with a bunch of incompetence as well. So, yeah, it looks staged also. There could be collusion. But again, when you put the whole mix together, it makes you wonder.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, in every one of these shoe bombers, you name it, some special security person ushers them with fake IDs or no ID right up onto the plane. And then meanwhile, I've seen old people who look like they're on the edge of death with oxygen tanks literally being screamed at by TSA. I mean, I won't fly through Houston, George W. Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush Airport, because they literally scream at you like animals, and they've got a bunch of people on power trips literally howling in there. I mean, it is otherworldly how screwed up things are. So I understand what you're talking about the ineptitude. This just fits so much of the past MO we've seen with staged events, and we know they stage things like Gulf of Tonkin and other events.
Oh, of course they have. Remember the Maine. Yeah, I mean, it goes on and on. And the other side of the story, too, who really, do the legislators or the president or the cabinet, they don't care about stepped-up security, what we have to go through. I hate to fly. I try to go nowhere anymore because they have their own private jets. Everything is paid for them. They go to another country. They have military attachés picking them up, carrying their luggage, boarding them on, and taking them where they have to go. So this is just another inconvenience, if you will.
That's right. That's why our military's in 190-something countries, because they're butlers to all these corrupt people in Congress. I was talking to a European Union member of Parliament yesterday, and he pointed out that the European Union bureaucrats are exempt from EU taxes. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
I didn't know that. That is incredible.
Well, the whole thing, the whole game is incredible. So as we're looking at this terror strike, or the aborted one, we're looking for 9/11 magnitude terror strikes in 2010. And when it happens, just like now, for example, has anybody asked if this guy, why he did it, what provoked him to it? Could it possibly be other than they hate our freedom and liberty? Could it possibly be that he's maybe disgusted with American foreign policy? Could it possibly be the hundreds of thousands of people that have been killed in the decades-long war that America's been waging abroad in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and now in Pakistan? And here's what to worry about. Unlike Iraq and Afghanistan, there are 300,000 approximately Pakistanis living in the U.S. Now, let's just suppose for a moment that you had a family member in the Swat Valley or South or North Waziristan or wherever else, and they've been slaughtered either by a predator drone Of course, they only do surgical strikes on, quote, suspected terrorists, but they happen to wipe out your family in the meantime. And the Afghan army, again, instigated by the U.S., waging this massive war where there were more refugees in South Waziristan, North Waziristan, and the Swat Valley than since the Rwandan crisis in 1994. Do you think you'd want to seek revenge? Do you think you'd have to belong to an organization such as Al-Qaeda? Or you're plenty angry, and now you have the means and the wherewithal of weapons of mass destruction to wreak the havoc that's been wreaked upon you, to do unto others as they have been doing unto you and your family. This is why we're going to see Terror 2010, and when it happens, it'll be the same old story. They hate our freedom and liberty. And one other thing. I love the line. It comes from Obama. It came from Bush. Came from Clinton. It comes from all of them. We're going to hunt down the terrorists, or we're going to bring them back to swift justice, or words to that effect. Oh, and we're going to catch every terrorist around. There have been more Elvis sightings than Obama sightings.
Well, expanding on that, if some of this terror occasionally is real, any resistance is dubbed terror. If you hold your arm up when a cop's billy clubbing you, it's now called terrorism. Or if they're about to throw you off the cliff and you try to hold onto the edge, it's nightly news, the greatest terror attack in history. I mean, our media is saying that if Iran is hit and fights back in any way, they're going to be nuked. It's a new form of warfare. We attack you first, and then if you defend yourself, we nuke you and cry on TV and scare our nation of ninnies. But look, the globalists know when they go in and stir up the Muslims that that's going to cause them to strike back. It's like going up and hitting a bee's nest. And then they get to take the American people's freedom. So it's problem, reaction, solution. The elite didn't get in power over being bozos. And on top of it, if these Muslims really are just attacking us because they're mad, don't they know that when they attack, that makes our military come and invade? Don't they know that brings in the wrath?
Well, yes, they do know. What's the reports going out now, however? That there's another report about Israel planning to do a, quote, surgical strike against the Iranian nuclear facility.
That's the other big part. You're right. They're kicking all this off for the police state, getting ready to go into Iran because they know there'll be real terror attacks in this country if Iran is hit. Go ahead.
I want to make this really clear. If anybody attacks Iran, the United States, or Israel, it's the beginning of World War III. These are the Persians, let anyone forget. There are 70 million of them, and they're armed to the teeth. They fought Iraq for 8 years. They didn't give up 1 inch of territory and lost over 1 million people. Anybody thinks that they're going to beat Iran, well, you know, they're part of the military-industrial complex. Maybe it's not beating them at all. Maybe it's just keep making money for a prolonged war. Because anybody in their right mind knows that they're not going to go down in any way. And this is also important. We keep hearing about, you know, the great Israeli military. Israel lost to Lebanon. They could, like the United States, they could bomb any country into oblivion. But once you hit the ground, it's a different story. So with Iran, nobody's going to be successful attacking Iran internally. Yeah, they could bomb it to oblivion. It's, as I said, it's the beginning of World War III. There's no stopping it. So if Israel goes in, and again, there's those sabers being rattled now in the news, if that happens, we're going to be in for a hellish time in 2010 and probably for the rest of our lives.
Do you believe Israel's going to hit in 2010? I mean, they're openly making noises saying they may go ahead and strike.
I don't believe so, and I could be wrong. I only say that because they've been saying this for a number of years. And I don't know if they're trial balloons to see what kind of response they'll get back from Washington. Because the latest, it's the same story, every administration. For example, every administration tells Israel, no, you can't build any more housing developments on Palestinian land. You can't do it. Stop. It's against international law. And Israel does it anyway. And they're doing it again. There's just an announcement yesterday for 600 more apartment units. The administration says no, stop. Israel says do it. So Israel couldn't be testing the United States to see what their response is. But always remember that the more this country is involved militarily at any level, the less freedoms that we the people have. The worse the economy gets, and we wrote about this over and over again, when this bailout bubble bursts, when all else fails, they have no more financial tricks to deal on the table, the next card they play is war, and that's what we're concerned about. I've said it on your show. I've said it on CNBC. I say it everywhere. When all else fails, governments after governments take the people to war to get their minds off smaller problems.
All right, Gerald Celente.